All right. So it is week 5 in CIT 82, which really means there's only 4 weeks left. Let me get it up there. 4 weeks left of this semester. Compressed classes like this, we try to say this in the beginning. Some students, I don't know if this is true for you. You could reply telling me if this is true. Because you didn't really realize that this is a compressed class, right? It's like you might have looked at it, well, it's 9 weeks, it's just shorter, less content. It's the same amount of content as an 18-week course compressed into 9 weeks, okay? So it definitely clips along at what I would, say is a pretty good pace. What you might say is a fire hose. And based on the experience you bring into this class, that a fire hose can vary. Okay? So this week we make a transition from learning about basic HTML and CSS to learning a framework, a CSS, Cascading Style Sheet framework called Bootstrap. Now, Bootstrap is one of those things, every time I teach this class, I go do some research to see if it's still relevant. And it is. There are other things that definitely could be used, like I know at least Kimberly has mentioned Tailwind, definitely something I could consider in the future. In the present day that we're at, many people are still, not many, there's still enough of a significant use in the industry for creating websites fairly quickly using a framework like Bootstrap that I think it's still good to learn it, because in learning something like this, you learn its logic of how it does things, okay? How its particular implementation is done, and that can help you on the next library you learn. So not only is it still relevant, again, even though it's starting to weigh, or starting to kind of slip, and there are other things that we use or not, right? Because that's where, anyway, I'm not going to go off on that, but I just want you to know that part of what you're learning here, it's just learning how something is implemented, and it's in the logic at which you use to learn that particular thing. And in this case, learning Bootstrap. So we're going to have 2 days of learning Bootstrap. Now I'm using somebody else's content, not mine, but I do give you instructions, so you'll follow along with that. I'm actually using WebDev Simplified, a YouTuber who I really enjoy and I think does really good work. In the part 2, I end up skipping some of the things that if you were taking, that you could apply in a JavaScript course. Although, and I'll just tell you this for those of you who might actually be in the JavaScript course, you will not see me use Bootstrap there. And this will seem kind of different, but students taking 93 aren't necessarily students who are going into web development. There are some students in there who are taking that to check a box, and not in a bad way, for a program or a transfer or something else not related to web development. So I have to kind of rethink that course a little bit. But here's what I would tell you is the things I'm skipping over, and this is my whole point here in part 2, I would definitely, if you're taking 93, go ahead and look at, because I think it's worth knowing how to implement forms, how to do validation, how to do labels, right? How to do some of the other things that we're going to skip over in that section. Okay. All right, so here again, we're at week 5. The reason I'm talking about Bootstrap is next week we find a template, right? And that template, we're going to implement a site. Now, the last thing we're going to cover this week is actually a draft. I would say it's more than a draft because I've actually done this a couple of times, of our Project Zero. So Project Zero is a website you're going to build. And in this case, I've also modified the requirements for this. You'll learn this in the Thursday night item. Okay. But in that video, I remember I wasn't clearly remembering what percentage it was. So I thought this would be a good place to say this. It is 25% of your grade. So it's a good chunk, right? And it's important, and in this case, I'm just showing you, here's the requirements. It's not due to it's the last thing, I think, almost the last thing you turn in this class. Which, if you want to know, right, if you were to go look, which is not bad at this point to look, February 29th. That's not right. That's not right. Oh, I'm glad I looked at that. I got to fix that because this is March 4th. I got to fix that. So in this case, if we were to look at the calendar, oh, I'm so glad I looked at that to see it, right? So if we were to look at March 4th here, right, and if I looked at 82, I would see that, right, in this case, it should have been here. Matter of fact, let me show you a cool thing about Canvas. I can actually take and drag some things down and make that. And actually, I think I'm going to end up backing it up one day. I'm going to back it up here to the 6th. Okay, it'll be that night. So what you'll want to do is have your project 0 submitted by, because I will, of course, take it, up until the time I wake up on the 7th of March. But, that's one of those things, too, as you've seen with other things in this class, submitting early gives you a real benefit because if you miss something, right, I can give you that feedback. As a matter of fact, one of the things you do here that I think I didn't talk about was actually you'll give yourself a grade. I'm not, of course, that won't be the grade you get, but it'll be a way for you to make sure you've gone over all the requirements. I cover those in that video, okay? So this week should be, again, a major shift. The couple things I wanted to talk about, and I've already talked about this in some of the other video, actually not Monday night, that's what I talked about Monday night, but in this week for attendance. A couple of you have hit up against this, so anytime in this course that you're tempted to put a print screen, whether required or not, you still need to embed it. And you might wonder why I'm so particular about that. It's more that I just want you to understand. It's just a concept in web development that we have a source location something is at, and then we can reference that by an absolute URL to include that instead of copying it or attaching it into the discussions, which just duplicates the content. So don't do it, okay? Here to the end. Now the thing I'm going to end with, and the question I'm going to ask is about Discord, because I noticed, and in this case we're in the RL, I'm recording this in the Thursday of week 3. I'm noticing, and this is something I've noticed with this particular class, and I'm kind of wondering why. I think I've asked students in the past, and I'm interested this semester. Like, I don't see a lot of questions. I think I haven't seen only one of students asking questions out on Discord. So I'm curious, is there, if you're willing to share, is there a reason why you're not? Maybe it's that you don't need it. That I'd like to think, maybe this might be true, that my instruction is so good that you don't. Or that you're reaching out to me directly, which is fine. That's fine. I don't set up Discord so that you don't ask me. It's totally okay to ask me. The reason I run Discord is so that in case you want to ask your classmates when I'm not around, right? So I'm curious, like, have you run into something, and you've thought, hey, I could ask this on Discord, but you didn't for some reason. But if you didn't, you might also not be willing to share it. Or have you gone to the tutor? Again, you don't have to share that, but, because that's the other way you can get help. I mean, we have multiple ways for you to get help with a class like this, right? Email me, come see me during office hours, reach out to make an appointment, see Zach on his, it's listed in Simple Syllabus, reach out for Discord. So I think the point of this conversation is, is there a reason you wouldn't use Discord? Or, right, are you getting the help? Do you understand all the different ways that you could get help? So I've kind of modified the question just in this video. Anyway, have a great week 5. And it's time for me to go and start looking at week 6. All right, talk to you later.